Good morning. This is Ron Brown. It is 11:20 a.m. on Friday. What is this? The 13th, Friday the 13th of May, and the market is roaring today, heading up. I want to show you a few things in this report. I'm doing it on Friday to free up my Saturdays. I'll just do this. I may come back and add some at the end of the day. I'm not sure. Anyway, this is my market report, and of course my standard risk disclaimer. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. Any stock, ETF, or index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. Okay, I'll get this out of here. What I want to do is I want to what I wrote and posted this morning. This is the Nasdaq comp. I do this every day that the market's open when I'm in town and available. But this is what happened yesterday. I wrote, yesterday was an encouraging day for the comp as it closed up slightly after trading in a wide range. You can see the wide range bar. Volume was heavy, which suggests, I didn't need that A in there, did I? Which suggests that fear dominated early, but buyers stepped in to salvage the day. This could have been a selling climax. Compare the volume bar here, this volume bar, to volume bars over the last month and a half. This bar was much higher than anything visible in here, and it opened here, traded down, and closed in the upper part or above the 50% level of its range at 59.94. It was a pocket pivot was also generated, so volume was much higher. The trends are still down, as you can see right here, but this could have been a selling climax, I said, and maybe it was because the market is extremely strong at this point. But as we all know, markets can collapse in the afternoon with profit taking. Strong trend down. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to today. What I'm going to do here is go to my designer, and first of all, I'll go into my industries, click on that, select tools, select rebuild indexes and groups. It's rebuilding all of the industry monitors groups or HGSI groups, and we'll take a look at this to see what's happening. Okay, I'll click through to the warehouse, and then I have to find the appropriate warehouse view, and these are under top-down scorecard views for HGSI index analysis. I sort on the first one, sort on raw combo, and I can see which groups are up the most today. Here's one. It only has one stock in it. You look over here and you can see it has one stock. It's up almost 12%. Renewable energy. There are 25 stocks in here, and all 25 of them are up, 9.8%. Other financial services, 19 up, 3 down. So we get a great view here of what's going on. Now, I also like to go down here and click on HGSI indexes up today. You can see 173 and only 1 down. 1 must be unchanged because there's 175. So this shows you how strong the market is today. Now I'm going to move on. First of all, I'm going to go back down to the intraday view here because I am going to go in and rebuild my user SmartGroups. This takes normally about 30 seconds when I'm not recording, so it may take a little bit longer, but what this is doing, it's going in and updating all of the SmartGroups that I have under user SmartGroups, and I have a lot because I'm always experimenting. Now, as I'm doing this, the comp is up 3.93%, up 447 points. And it's off of its high, believe it or not. It's at 88.91% of its daily range. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and look at my intraday market indicators, open up the major markets components list. This is a group of stocks which contains all of the S&P 500 stocks, the Nasdaq stocks, and the other major indexes, the Dow 30, transports, utilities, and so on. And I can look in here and see how many of these are up. If you look up here at the top, there's 2639, 2383 are up, 231 are down. Let's go down to the Nasdaq 100. There are 102 securities in here. 97 are up, 2 are down, so the other 3 must be unchanged. But you can get a quick read on this. And then if you want to go from here into the warehouse view, and I'll click up here, make this full screen, sort on industries, or actually I'm going to sort on the percentage price change industries, and you can see autos are up the most, 14.77 on Lucid, coming off of the bottom. That's a weekly chart. Let me move this up and we can look at the daily chart. But you can see that it got an infusion of cash yesterday, I believe. I'm not sure about that. But it was strong yesterday on pretty heavy volume, and now it's following through. But putting it in context, like I talked about at my webinar yesterday, this trend is still down strongly. So the odds are it's going to go up for a ways and then it's going to come back down. I certainly doubt if we'll see a V bottom with this shooting right up. But for now, it's up. It's up big. What else is up? Tesla's up. You can see that it jumped up, but it's really been beaten down too. What I like to do is sort on this intraday percent range and see which of these stocks are holding up at this point. You can see that Fiserv is up at 99.8% of its daily range, so it's holding up very well. I'll move this back up and I'll just flip through a few of these, and you can see that it's at the top of its range. So is KLA 10 Core. A lot of bottom fishing, as you would expect, because the market is so beaten down. But this is just a quick way to get in to these groups by going through the stocks right in here. I have the 1500, the 400, the 500, 600, and so on. And these are stocks assigned to industry groups where the price is up or down. So how many are up? 3541, 256 down, to show you the breadth of the market. Now I want to take you down to what I call my instant watch list. First of all, we're going to look at the end of day and then intraday. I may go through all of these, I may not. But what I've done is I've created scans and I've limited these stocks to, or these groups to 16 stocks, so you don't have to look through a bunch of stocks. Now I haven't clicked through yet, so I have to do that. Just go to the warehouse and click through. And only 15 stocks met the criteria. And you can see out of these stocks that not every one of them are up today. And these are momentum stocks, but you can see that Southwest Gas, clearly a momentum stock, but it's pulled back a little bit today. But it's still, the 3 is still above the 6. So that's one group. Here is VTNR. This is a nice 1, 2. It's got the third higher high, which started right here at today's high, or yesterday's high. When that was surpassed, this became the third higher high, which is a change in direction after this pullback here. Look at all these pocket pivots. A lot of buying going on in here. This is the same scan, except stocks are limited to $75 or less, and you can see that all 8 of these are up. These are pullback stocks. The 3 below the 6, you can see that every one of these are up today. This just goes to show, and you already know this, that the market has such a tremendous influence on stocks. If you're betting against the market and trying to buy long, unless you're in a really strong group, it's very painful. Same group, under $75. This is end of day fan up pullback near the 50-day moving average. Most of these are up, a couple are flat, one is down. $75 max on the same group. These are setting up after a pullback. The fan is up. And you can see that every one of these are up except this one. This is probably a buyout. No, it's not a buyout, but it's the only one that's not up. Look at PLL. It's near the 50. Down quite a bit ways from the 50, but it's within 5%, and that was my criteria, so that's why it's showing up here. Here's another one, BOWL. The 50 is right here, so it was very close to the 50, and it's moving up. It's going to move on down the list here. 3 and 6 cross after a pullback. So the 3 and 6 have crossed, if you look at these 2 columns here, after these stocks have pulled back. Most of them are up. The next one is here's an unconfirmed low pivot. The 3 below the 6. Transfer that to the warehouse. So these had a low pivot. Right here's the low pivot. The 3 was below the 6, and look at that stock take off. Here is another one. You can see that this column is empty. That means the 3 was below the 6. Low pivot here, and it is a low pivot buy because it took out the prior day's high. Here's another one. Low pivot, moving up sharply. So these were low pivots all below the 3. Now these are unconfirmed low pivots above the 6, or the 3's above the 6. Let's transfer that, and you can see this column is now populated. But you can see there was a pivot here, and this stock's going up. Here's a pivot here, and this stock's going up. Here's the low pivot right here, and the stock's going up. The 3 was above the 6. Let's do one more. Golden Ocean. Here's the low pivot. The 3 was above the 6, not below it, and it's going up too. So there's all kinds of scans in here. Now this one's the volume point of control up, but below the 6-day moving average. 3 below the 6. So take a look at this one. And about every one of these are up. The VPOC is positive, but the 3 was below the 6. And these are, here's the VPOC, positive over here in the lower right. And you can see another set of buys here. And this one is the 3 above the 6. The VPOC is up 1 day. And only one stock here. See, days since the VPOC crossed over. And that was right there where it crossed over. But it was, the 3 was above the 6. Now these are the intraday. And my requirements on the intraday are that these stocks all be positive. Because I'm just, even though the last date was 5/12, that's the end of day, because I put the requirement in the filter that these be positive intraday. This is limited to 10 rather than 16. Here's that VTNR. Here is Funko again. Hudson Tech. This is a stock I own. I actually bought it back here because of tremendous earnings, and I followed the Frank Bunn rule that until you get 3 lower lows, you hang on to a stock, and you can see there were 2 lower lows, and then it reversed, and now it's trying to break out to the upside. Here's Devon Energy. Test. Confirmation of that test and moving up. So these are all pretty much a duplicate. I have two more on the end of day here that I don't have in the intraday. I don't think they're necessary, but everything else is the same as this folder is the same as this, except these all have to be up when I run the intraday smart group update. I'm going to take a quick look at the low pivots on the intraday. You can see that they're all up, and I think we've seen this one before, but here's the low pivot and then a confirmation of that. Chef's Warehouse, here's your low pivot and a confirmation of that. Here's a low pivot and the confirmation. This one isn't confirmed yet because it hasn't surpassed the prior day's high. This one's not confirmed either. It would have to go all the way up there, but it's the low risk trade would be to take it. It's coming off the 200-day and put your stop below this if you do take it. I don't really like all this short-term overhead resistance, but it meets the filter requirement. That's why it's in here. Here's one that's had a pullback to the 50. You can see the low pivot. This would be, I'll do this very quickly. I'll go to my other chart, position sizing, and use the R tool. If you put this clear down here at that low, which is a long ways away, well, the risk would be 7.7% on this trade if instead you decide to put it at the gap just below the opening gap. That would cut the risk down to 4.57% if you take this trade, or today's low would be 3.79%. So you can use this R tool and get a feel for it. I want to warn you though, if you're doing automatic updating, this disappears once the screen refreshes. I'll hit F5 and you can see that it disappeared. So that's all I'm going to do in this segment. I may come back and do a market close segment if I have time. The market continues to go up. It's up, the comp's up 4.22% right now. And let me see what the Dow's up 1.59. S&P 500's up 6.7. So obviously they're flooding into the tech stocks today, trying to pick them off of the bottom. But this rally could fade going into the day's end. Now, if you look at the chart, and I can't do the comp here because I don't have the end of day data, but I'm going to use I'll use a substitute. I'll just do the Qs. I should have go back to a black chart here. Let's look at the QQQ. I've already got it in there. I can just type that and you can see what's happening. And you can see the volume is, this magenta line shows, that the color, the volume by the end of the day should be really strong. Let me go to a different my daily chart here. Look at the intraday statistics. This is surprising that the Q volume right now is running less than normal. Here's the percentage changes. You can see it's up 3.99%, but this projection is that it's only going to be below average, which is surprising. Okay, I'm back for the close. I'm going to do a short video, talk a little bit about what happened today. You can see that the comp did follow through. These are the 3 and the 6 day exponential moving averages, and after that volume spike yesterday, which is not available in thinkorswim during the day, you can see that it followed through and it closed at 85% of its intraday high. Look at this, up 434 points, 3.82%. That's just the beginning, though. This has a lot further to go to really make any progress, but it was good to see this because this was a very terrible week here. I'm going to go over one, and this is a weekly chart. You can see what it looks like in the weekly chart. We did get a hammer today on the weekly chart. Now we need to see a higher high and a higher low beginning to get this thing back on track. With all the cross currents in the market, though, that's going to be tough. But today it was nice going into the weekend to have a decent day. Let's look at a few other things. ARKK was up 11.82%, closed near the high, 84.3% of its daily range. Let's take a look here at Apple. Closed at 80% of its range. Boy, this thing has really fallen off too, hasn't it? Volume was actually light on that. Just out of curiosity, I have QQQ in here, and it was running light earlier in the earlier video. And you can see it's still light. Not a lot of enthusiasm on the Qs to join in the party and take this thing higher. In fact, it's sloping down. As you can see, the last 3 days have been down. That's a little bit surprising. Now let's go to this, and you can see the volume on the NYSE is not as great as it was yesterday, but that's not a surprise because yesterday seemed like a selling climax. Look at the volume spike here and here on the Nasdaq also. Let's just look over here. This is the ES 5-minute chart, pulled back and then it rallied into the close, and then with a slight pullback at the end of the day. I updated HGSI with the intraday and end of day, so I can do some market analysis right now. Let's just go in, take a quick look, see what the industries did. These are just updated with a full update. And I need to get up here to my folder. And what did the groups do today? Well, I'm not in the groups. I'm in all securities. I need to move down here. Raw combo, chemicals, that didn't change. There's one stock in there. Electric, gas, and marketing, 2 stocks. Renewable energy, I talked about earlier, was up sharply, and it stayed up sharply at 8.8%. Cruise lines, automobiles were on top earlier. E-commerce. Look at these advancers versus decliners. Okay. I want to do the index is up 171, index is down 3. So clearly a strong day to the upside. Now let's move into the user groups, into my market analysis user groups, and just go down here to the major indexes and sectors. I'll click on this, and you can see the semiconductor index was up sharply. Advancers to decliners were 29 to 1. I'm going to sort on that. Energy, 31 to 1, 222 up, 7 down. SOX 29 to 0, Nasdaq 97 to 4, and so on. These are all things you can do yourself over the weekend to look at them. Take some time. These indexes all confirm what we saw in the major markets. The volume, some of them were above average, but a lot of them are below average. I'll have to take a good look at that over the weekend. Okay, I've changed to my number 3 view. This sorts on advancing issues versus declining issues, and I'm still in my major indexes and sectors, and you can see how strong this was based upon advancing issues versus declining. 32 to 1 on energy, SOX 29 to 1, 19 to 1 on all of these indexes. And then as you go down the list, you can see everything above here was 5 to 1. Russell was 4.41, utilities 4.16, financials 2.20. So a very strong day. The only thing that seems to be missing is heavy volume. That's it for my report. Have a good weekend, and thanks for listening. We'll see what happens next week, but the last 2 days were a decent start for maybe a little run to the upside.